Well, welcome to our viewers in Nigeria and across the world. Lunchtime Politics begins right now. Well, after meeting with the Senate President, doctors suspend planned nationwide protest and picketing of government offices. But as for the strike, the resident doctors say nothing has changed as the strike continues. And a peek into President Bola Tinubu's taxation plan, which aims to improve tax generation by an estimated 20 trillion naira. The question is, what reforms are in store for Nigerians? And the opposition, PDP in Imo State, accuses the ruling APC of using security agents to intimidate its candidate ahead of the November governorship elections. Well, we hear from the sides on the program this afternoon. Well, we'll begin with our top story. The Senate appears to be racing against time to find ways to meet the demands of labor unions in Nigeria. And just in the nick of time, the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors, who are on an indefinite strike, put on hold their planned nationwide protest and picketing after meeting with the Senate last night. But the meeting was not enough to get them back to work. However, a statement from Senate President Godswill Akpabio's office adds that the doctors are set to suspend the strike following that meeting. Meanwhile, the president of the NARD, Dr. Innocent Orji, says the suspension of the protest is only for 72 hours. He adds that the Ministry of Health, rather than open dialogue with the doctors, resorted to issuing statements, a situation which he frowns at. He was a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
Yes, we put on hold the protest that was supposed to start this morning, but the strike is continuing. We review again in 72 hours. That's the position of our National Executive Council. And of course, yesterday, we had a meeting at the Villa. We also had one with the leadership of the Senate, led by the Senate President, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio. And a lot of promises were made. In fact, at a point, they were even wondering why it took so long for government to address the urgent demand that we've been hammering on since we started this struggle. Of course, when some other government officials are making efforts to resolve the issue, you still have a few individuals who want to prolong the issues by taking measures that will necessarily aggravate the problem. And our members felt ashamed that was the position some people were taking, and of course that even led to the plan for the protest, because we saw what they were doing.
Who exactly?
No, you see, some of the government officials who were supposed to call us to take responsibility to start addressing the demands. They didn't call. And
who are you expecting to call?
We have a parent ministry.
Ministry of Health.
Ministry of Health. And like I said, they didn't call us since we declared the strike. They were just issuing statements.
Does it matter that
Well, still more issues ahead of the government, but this one is on tax. And work begins in earnest for the newly inaugurated Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, with the goal to close Nigeria's estimated 20 trillion naira tax gap. And according to the chairman of the committee, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, the group will explore ways to strengthen the tax collection system by addressing the multiplicity of revenue collection agencies and the lack of effective coordination across levels of government. While speaking on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily, he adds that the committee will consider repealing some taxes without introducing new ones.
As of today, we have what I call significant tax gap, estimated in the region of 20 trillion or even more naira. Because if you focus only just on the few major taxes, value-added tax, corporate income tax, personal income tax, there are loads of people who are not compliant, particularly middle class and the elite. Some of them are in the tax net with 1 or 2 fingers. So you pay 1,000 naira as tax when you should have paid 10 million naira. If you bring all of that into the task net, in fact, our plan is to repeal many of the taxes that currently make doing business difficult without introducing new ones and yet collect more. The federal government alone, level alone, we had 63 MDAs that were given revenue target last year. No, actually 2023 budget. And two things that will come up from that. On one hand, these agencies are being distracted from doing their primary function, which is to facilitate the economy. Number two, they were not set up to collect revenue, so they won't be able to collect revenue efficiently. So move those revenue collection functions to the FRS, you gain two advantages. The cost of collection and efficiency would improve. These guys will focus on doing their work, and the economy will benefit.
And also the situation in neighboring Niger. Ahead of the upcoming extraordinary meeting of ECOWAS heads of state and government, the president has ordered additional financial sanctions through the Central Bank of Nigeria on entities and individuals related to and involved with the military junta in Niger Republic. Well, the special advisor to the president on media and public affairs, Ajuri Ngilale, made this known while explaining that no option has been taken off the table. It is expected that far-reaching decisions will be taken by the bloc during tomorrow's meeting. He was speaking at a press conference in the nation's capital.
No move taken by the Nigerian government, for example, as part of the regional bloc, has been taken in isolation. What I mean by that is that the Nigerian government has acted on the authority provided by the consensus position taken by the bloc itself, by all members of the ECOWAS heads of state, concerning financial sanctions and many others. I can also report that following the expiration of the deadline of the ultimatum and standing on the pre-existing consensus position of financial sanctions meted out on the military junta in Niger Republic by the bloc of ECOWAS heads of state, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered an additional slate of financial sanctions through the Central Bank of Nigeria on entities and individuals related to or involved with the military junta in Niger Republic.
So let's talk elections now. Ahead of the November governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states, the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, under the leadership of its new national chairman, Mr. Abdullahi Ganduje, says it is optimistic of victory at the polls. Well, the national secretary of the party, Senator Ajibala Basiru, stated this in the nation's capital after a meeting of the APC National Working Committee.
We also deliberated on improving the internal mechanisms and processes of our party. And of course, the agenda is to reposition our party to support the administration of Asiwaju President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course our governors and National Assembly members. And of course, we reposition our party to win all elections, henceforth. And of course, the need to strengthen the three wings of our party, the youth wing, the women wing, and the peoples with disability wing was also deliberated upon. And of course, going forward, the meetings of the NWC will be regular, and there will also be regular briefings of the press as to what the NWC is doing. And of course, we are going to interface with the leadership of our party at the national, state, and zonal level to ensure that we have a unitized party whose activity is not only limited to when elections are done.
Well, the People's Democratic Party in Imo State is making some allegations. And it alleges that the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, in the state is intimidating its members. Now, according to a statement by the PDP's national spokesperson, Mr. Debo Ologwangba, he says the intimidation is aimed at distracting and suppressing members of the opposition party, especially its governorship candidate and the deputy, ahead of the November governorship election. In his words, he claims that the APC is jittery and in mortal fear, and warns that security agencies should not be used as a tool of political coercion against its candidates. The opposition party asks security agencies to act professionally in carrying out their duties and not do the bidding of politicians. So we have joining us on the program two gentlemen to take a look at this all-important issue. It touches at the very heart of democracy, and that's elections itself. We're joined on the program this afternoon by Mr. Cajetan Duke, who's a publicity secretary of the APC in Imo State. He joins us via Zoom, as well as Mr. Arthur Ugochukwu, who's a member of the PDP National Campaign Council. Imo State joins us from the nation's capital, Abuja. While we try to fix the connection with Mr. Duke, let me just begin with you, Mr. Ugochukwu, because, I mean, these are major allegations made against the APC. In fact, I understand that Mr. Duke's connection is now good to go. So let's go to him naturally to get a response to the statement by the PDP, that is your party. So, Mr. Duke, these are quite weighty allegations against the APC, your party in Imo State. In fact, for the PDP believes that you're using security agencies to harass and intimidate opposition figures. And it says that the latest is the case involving the deputy governorship candidate of your party. So, Mr. Duke, if you could hear me, I'd like to get your response to those allegations first, and then we'll continue with the conversation. Okay, we'll get back to Mr. Duke, but let me come to you, Mr. Ugochukwu. A lot of Nigerians, I mean, can almost predict these issues coming up before elections, and it's important to separate propaganda, rhetorics from the reality on ground, because if there's anything we want a level playing field, and we want elections to be peaceful, the celebration of democracy. So if you could just give us a background as to what your party says is happening and the proof you have for these allegations that are made against the APC.
Thank you very much. This is not just allegation. These are facts on ground. In fact, the National Publicity Secretary of our party, Mr. Debo Ologwangba, was very, very explicit in his statement. Now, what is going on in Imo State is that the governor, His Excellency Opozodema, is not just jittery, but he is overwhelmed by the emergence of the governorship candidate, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, because that was not what he envisaged. He did not plan to battle the race with Senator Anyanwu. So he's actually overwhelmed, reason being that he's out of reach. He is not in touch with the people. He's been overwhelmed by the activities on ground, by the large acceptance of Senator Samuel Anyawu's candidacy. Because if you come to Imo State today, a governor that has visited Imo State just less than 10 times since the inauguration of the present administration is definitely not ready to run an election. What is he going to tell the people that he's going to do for them? A governor that is going around dishing out millions of dollars, buying people to endorse him for an election, is an indication that he is not prepared. He is fat, ill-prepared for the election. Because if you're running for a second-time election, you don't need to pay people to endorse you.
Well, Mr. Ugochukwu, let me just come in there quickly and ask that you, I mean, if you would make these statements, they need to be backed up with facts. And I would ask you, with these weighty allegations, what facts do you have?
I have my proof.
What evidence do you have? Do you have them here?
Yes, I have one of them who was paid $15,000 and he came back to confess that he collected $15,000 for the endorsement. That, by the way. So what should preach for your re-election is your duty, the numerous achievements you've done on ground. Is the work you have done that should compel, in fact, that should make people to vote for you, not by intimidating people. Now, the executive governor have seen that the two other means he uses in winning election, because all his life he has run 3 elections, 2 senatorial elections and 1 governorship, and none of them he won through the vote of the masses. He came to the three of them through the court. The recent one is the Supreme Court of January 20 judgment, 2020, January 14, 2020 judgment, which is still fresh in the minds of the people. As someone who came through the Ben Johnson way, who reaped from where he did not sow, he owed the Imo people that responsibility to at least make a name for himself. But he failed in doing that. So now that the judiciary is on trial in Nigeria, everybody is waiting for them to determine the massive rigging that took place in the last election. The governor knows that he may not be able to come back through the judiciary again by challenging Senator Anyanwu.
Mr. Ugochukwu, let me come in here yet again and ask that we be temperate, or you be temperate, particularly in the kind of language you use. I mean, we will not condone denigrating institutions of government, be it the judiciary. And as you said, the cases are in court, particularly the one that has to do with the election. So let's allow the courts decide on that one and not, of course, engage in, undermining the court or sub-judice process. But I understand we have Mr. Duke back now, and I'd like him to respond, particularly to the allegations made in that statement and the one you just made now about the governor allegedly paying people. Mr. Duke, it's over to you now.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, my brother, for having me. I sincerely appreciate the honor and the extension of invitation to be part of this program. First and foremost, let me state clearly that we do not have opposition in the real sense of it in Imo State. PDP, as presently constituted, has not in any way constituted any threat to the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, and of course our governorship candidate, the sitting governor of the state, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Adema. When I read the press statement as authored by the National Publicity Secretary of PDP, Honorable Dabo, I felt very disappointed that a man of such a level of exposure could condescend to the level of pedestrian, to that level of pedestrian politics, to submit to the whims and caprices of the PDP National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. My brother, the truth of the matter is that in every petition, there must be a petitioner. In every petition before the police, there must be a petitioner behind the petition. And if what actually happened yesterday at the police, state police command is the issue in question, the petitioner in that matter is the former PDP Secretary Ray Emanga, who challenged the leadership of PDP as presently constituted against an allegation leveled against him and 7 others who left PDP recently and joined APC. So the governor of Imo State has no hand in that matter. And I can tell you authoritatively, you can confirm from the police command, the state government is not involved in the theater of absurdity in PDP today. Unfortunately, PDP has found it very convenient to drag our party APC and the distinguished Adema into their mess. We are not part of their mess, we are not involved in their mess, and we are not interested in their mess. As I speak to you today, our governor, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Adema, is still in the business of governance.
Right.
We are not talking about election. We are not talking about election. We are not intimidated by any opposition in the state. And as I speak to you today, all political actors in Imo State have moved to APC because Governor Adema have earned the confidence and solidarity of critical stakeholders in Imo today. All
right, Mr. Duke, we're due for a break. And as I reiterated earlier on, let's keep the conversation civil and the language as well, so we can have a well-rounded conversation and stick to the issues. But we'll go to break right now, gentlemen. And when we return, I'll still like Mr. Duke to respond to the allegation made by Mr. Ugochukwu regarding some payments made. And then we'll touch on the key issues that the people of Imo want to hear about. That's governance. That's the moment. Join us again. Welcome back. We're still discussing the Imo governorship election. Well, it's still in November, but you know how politics works. It's literally tomorrow. And there's been some major allegations made by the PDP against the APC in the state. And that's what we're looking at, with the major focus on the issues of governance, how Imo State will be better for the people. We have with us still Mr. Accuses Duke, who is the Publicity Secretary of the APC in Imo State, as well as Mr. Arthur Ugochukwu, the member, PDP National Campaign Council in Imo State. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. Just before I come back to you, Mr. Ugochukwu, let me get Mr. Duke to respond to that allegation you made about the governor allegedly making payments to people. I mean, those are quite major allegations. So, Mr. Duke, I'd like you to respond to that, and we'll take the conversation forward.
Thank you, my brother. When you listen to my friend and brother who said that the governor is busy weighing people into APC with a sum of $15,000, and you ask him, does he have any evidence? He says he has somebody who will come and say, those are not evidence. You know, these are not critical evidence. You have no evidence. And I am telling you, and I have it on good authority, that our governor has no business, has no need to owe anybody the sum of $15,000 to join APC. What are you coming to do for him? But let me tell you, my brother, the best and the strongest political party we have in Imo State, the most visible, the most strongest political party we have in the state today is APC.
All right.
And I can tell you critically clear that it is as a result of what the governor has done for the past 3 years in the area of critical infrastructure, civil service reform, economic re-engineering, empowerment of the youth through digital economy. These are the things that has earned the governor the unlimited solidarity of the people.
Okay, just a moment, Mr. Duke. Just a moment, Mr. Duke. You've responded to that. Let me go back to Mr. Ugochukwu now. And in addition to, perhaps your response to him, because he's also talked about proof, which you say you have. You might want to elucidate on that, because it's important to lay all of these things bare. What does a PDP bring to the table? What is it planning to bring to the table for the people of Imo State?
Yeah, thank you once again. The PDP is trying to bring the governance to the people. The PDP want to give us a governor who is accessible to the people, who the people can feel, who feels the pause, the level of insecurity, the dilapidated economy, the messed up roads that we have in Imo. That is what the PDP wants to bring about. The PDP wants the people to feel that at least we are part and parcel of this state. The PDP no longer wants to have a governor who resides in Abuja and visits Imo State once in 2 weeks. That is not what we are looking for. So if you are asking about, now the young man from the Publicity Secretary of APC in Imo State is asking of proof. The other day, there is another guy, one guy is an OAP. He's in police custody as we speak, here in the force headquarters. He came up and made a statement about something that is going on in Imo State. He was picked up by the police. Now, the guy is in police detention for close to a week now. And now, the person that he made that allegation to had come out to tell the whole world that he has a private military, which the government of Imo State is contracted them to work with. It was your interview. Shehu asked him that question. Now, do you still need another proof? And why is that guy still in detention as we speak this moment? He should have been released, and then the relevant authorities should go and ask Asaru Kubo, who employed you in the state. Government is the executive governor. So we don't need Sayas to tell us that. Yesterday, the deputy governorship candidates and the entire campaign structure of Senator Samuel Anyanwu were invited to the police headquarters in Owerri. What was that? On trumped-up charges by people who have moved and pledged allegiance to the serving governor, the present governor. So these are the kind of impunity, these are the kind of intimidation we are complaining about in Imo State.
Well, gentlemen,
if this is democracy and you are sure you have done well, why do you want to go about intimidating people?
Well, gentlemen,
first of all, we
have our eyes, and I imagine...
the amount of 50...
You can quickly land on that, Mr. Ugochukwu. We're winding down now, quickly.
Oh, yeah. The other time, he imposed the sum of 53 million before you can raise a billboard in Owerri. That's intimidation. Right. And we are talking about how to cut election costs in the country.
Well, we have to wind down now, gentlemen, but I want you to know that the eyes of not just Imo people, but Nigeria is on Imo State, and will, of course, keep these issues on the front burner. So hopefully we'll have you sometime soon to speak on, the issues as a build-up to the elections. But we'd like to thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Mr. Kajetan Duke, Publicity Secretary of the APC in Imo State, as well as Mr. Otho Gochukwu, a member of PDP National Campaign Council, Imo State. Thank you once again for your time. Well, let's come to Lagos now, where the State Governorship Election Tribunal has fixed August the 12th, as Saturday, for the adoption of final written addresses in the petitions filed by the governorship candidates of the Labour Party, Gbadebo Rhodes Viver, and that of the PDP, Olajide Adejiro, popularly known as Jandor. The Tribunal Secretariat confirmed the information to Channels Television's judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoele. Ahead of the hearing, parties in both petitions have already filed their final written addresses before the three-man panel led by Justice Arum Ashram. Mr. Rhodes Viver, who came second in the polls, says his petition is a litmus test of the superiority of the provisions of the Constitution and insists that to dismiss it will be an endorsement of unconstitutionality. He's asking the tribunal to disqualify Governor Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Mr. Hamzat, and return him as the person with the highest number of lawful votes cast at the Lagos governorship election held on March the 18th. Well, his PDP counterpart is also seeking the disqualification of the governor and the Labour Party candidate in the election for what he describes as non-compliance with the Electoral Act and INEC's guidelines. And that's the program for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, politics and the political scene generally never sleeps, so stay with Channels Television for all of the breaking news. I'm Kayode Kikule. Goodbye.